Hello and welcome to episode 1, Why Media and Marketing Activities Are Important for the Space Companies. To take a deep dive into this topic, we have today with us the subject matter expert, Mr. Remco Timmermans. Hi, Remco, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Omkar. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so as you know that, the media and marketing activities are essential part of everything, especially the narrative, because it gives a full strategic control to any agency, organization, and the institutes. So, before prior proceeding with the topic, can you just give us a brief outlook on your journey in the space industry as a media and communication expert?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a background in business management, specializing in strategic marketing. That's a long time ago that I went to university to do those topics, and I didn't really start in the space industry. So I gained experience in finance, in manufacturing, and in management consulting until I rediscovered space through the use of social media. We started to experiment. I worked for Hewlett Packard at that time. We started to experiment with social media within the company for communication, and then tools like Twitter and Facebook came up. This is around the 2005, 2006, 2007 era, and I started to experiment with it, and I refound the space community. And I was at a point in my career where I had to make a few decisions on what to do next, and I'd always dismissed space. I'm not a space engineer, I'm not a scientist,
Yes.
so I always dismissed space. But through social media, I came in contact with this vibrant global community of like-minded people, and surprisingly, not all of them were rocket scientists and
Yeah.
engineers. There were actually quite a few people doing other things, and that's where I, uh, I found out that maybe there is a place in space for people with a marketing and management background like myself. So I went back to school. I attended the International Space University, where I basically got the knowledge, but most of all the confidence to act in the space industry. You have to learn the language, and we'll talk about this
Yes.
a little bit more because language is very important in
Yes.
marketing. But I learned the language of space, and I started volunteering for a few things, got my feet wet, and the rest is history, as they say. I started my own social media and content marketing agency for space, and I have served many clients since. I started work mostly with NGOs, but later on also with new space companies. I do lots of space events. And I now do marketing for a wide range, wide variety of global space organizations. And I guess we're going to talk about how that works in the course of this interview.
That's amazing, Remco. I mean, like, I would like to mention this over the podcast as well. Like, you have been an inspiration to me as well. Like, I started my journey from astronomy to the space industry back in 2015. And I think you are the one of the persons that, I was following. And, so I would like to come to the point, like you mentioned about language. So
Yes.
that's what is narrative. I think it shapes the narrative because narrative is, I guess, very much important these days. It gives a strategic control to the individual and a group of community of the people. So how would you like to mention or, present, like, what is the role of the media in the space industry, as well as why the media narrative matters in the space industry?
Yeah, no, I mean the role of media, like in any industry, let's face it. In that sense, in from a theoretical marketing point of view, space is no different than any other industry. Marketing
Yes.
is really about letting your potential clients know that you exist, and the solutions that you have to problems that your potential clients may have, and it's all about telling the story.
Yes.
Marketing is all about storytelling, and storytelling, stories, is all about language. Finding the right language to connect with that potential customer audience is what marketing really is all about. Why is this important in space? I mean, traditionally, the space industry in the 50s and 60s was 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 a government driven activity. It didn't need marketing because the suppliers and the customers were one and the same government entities who basically created these big government driven space programs to
Yes.
experiment with the first satellites to go out to the moon. So the government served the government, not much marketing involved. That has changed quite dramatically over the last several decades, where commercial companies have started to take over some of these activities from government players and serving customers that are different from their
Yeah.
own organizations. And that is suddenly where this storytelling, this narrative about what it is that organizations do and how it can solve problems that organizations have. And these stories really form the bridge between the supply side and this demand side. And again, this is marketing 101. This is not unique to space, but the space industry doesn't have a tradition of selling itself to potential clients. And in that sense, the
Yes.
whole notion of having to do strategic marketing is relatively new in space compared to many other sectors. And this is where marketeers, well, like myself and like many of my colleagues, can really play a critical role in developing this new space industry into the $1 trillion business that some people are foreseeing the space industry to be very soon.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you completely. Like traditionally, space really didn't need or required, I would say, the marketing tools or the necessary marketing. But I guess in today's era, we are into the commercial segment. It's the commercial flourishing that has been happening in the new space industry. So I guess it has gained, the marketing has gained momentum. And just revolving around this topic, like the marketing has gained momentum, especially. So, in the other industries, like I saw in the other industries, people have this buzz like, okay, the video content does well, okay, rather than the text, so we should
Mhm.
focus on video. So from this point of view, from the content format point of view, what do you think, which content formats are crucial for space companies and
Yeah.
why?
Okay, that's a very difficult question to answer, and it's kind of the universal answer to all scientific questions. The answer is it depends, because the format is really something that is subject to a few other things that you have to start with. So with every marketing campaign, you start with the added value. Why do we want to invest in marketing efforts? What is it going to give us? And
Yes.
once we understand why we need marketing in our organization, and in commercial space, that is fairly easy to answer, is because we need to tell people that we exist and that our products and services offer solutions to their problems. Um, but we need to understand what it is that we want to achieve. And once we understand that, we have to
Yes.
really understand who our customers are before we talk about content and about whether we use video or something else. We need
Yes.
to understand who our customers are. Are we in the B2B business? Are we in B2C? Are we in B2G? Or whatever letter combination you have. But it's really important that as an organization you really understand who it is that you should be talking to, who is going to pay for my products and services. And you should be very specific about that. This is called developing buyer personas, and that is really going into the detail of the people and
Yes.
be very clear. Marketing and selling products and doing business is all about people doing business with people. This is not hiding behind this big corporation, but no, this is about really understanding who the people are that will take the decision to buy your products or services. Once you understand that, then you will need to learn how to engage these people. What is the type of content that makes these people tick? And yes, this can be video. This can be TikTok videos for space outreach to young children, if that is your audience as an organization. But this could also be very technical reports on how your products will help your other business client or your business partner in achieving their corporate goals. So there's a wide variety of content that totally depends on what it is that you're looking to achieve and who you are trying to address through your marketing efforts. So video takes and imagery in general is very important. A picture says more than 1,000 words. That is definitely true, but it totally depends on the message that you're trying to convey to your specific audience. What makes your audience tick? If they connect and engage with videos, then great, explain what you're doing in videos. If, however, they're looking for technical information because they need to integrate your satellite into a very specific adapter on a launch vehicle, then they will be looking for that technical information, and they don't really care about your nice corporate video. So the answer, in well, putting it short, is it totally depends.
Yes, I agree with you. Like it depends on the companies to company, but one of the important, I guess, factor that you mentioned just now is B2B and B2C.
Hmm.
So I believe, like especially in the Earth observation sector, it has traditionally been B2B rather than B2C. But
Yeah.
I see now a little by little, it's coming on a consumer level where we have smart farming tools, especially directly the satellite insights are on the hands of the consumer, like literally they are on their tablets. So how would you can you just give us a brief outlook on how things have changed in the Earth observation sector, especially as you are an expert in that area as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, in the beginning, Earth observation, like anything in space, was very much a government activity. But now, with the availability of a lot more and a lot more detailed, higher spatial, higher temporal resolution Earth observation data from programs like Copernicus, like Landsat, like many commercial providers out there, so the availability has increased dramatically. Also, the interest, to a large extent through funding programs, for example, from the European Commission in Horizon 2020, in Horizon Europe, there's funds available to develop tools based on all that free data that is available. Um, those the availability of these tools has increased dramatically. Now, I would argue that most of these applications, at least most of these commercial applications, are still B2B. Even farming applications, a farmer is a business person. So precision agriculture is a typical B2B activity. But you also see on the consumer front where people are using satellite navigation data, and that's definitely a consumer product. Satellite navigation, in-car navigation. We all have Google Maps on our phone. Um, but also using weather applications. Those are all satellite applications that are definitely in the hands of consumers. Now, there is a difference between how you market these products in B2B, where you talk much more about how is this solution going to help me as a business, or how can these products add value to these businesses,
Yeah.
as in business to consumer, which is a different type of marketing, because really, both in Earth observation and satellite navigation, when you talk about the consumer market, it is no longer about space. This is really, again, marketing 101, consumer marketing 101. This is, how is this going to benefit your life? How is this going to improve your well-being? How is this going to improve your welfare? How is this going to make life easy for you as a person? And in that sense, it is not so much about space marketing at that level, but
Yes.
really about consumer marketing as we've seen it in all other industries. I hope I answered your question with this, because I think I kind of lost my thread halfway.
Yeah, I think you were on track, I would say, because you connected the dots very well. I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to the consumer, the pace changes. I guess the target changes. It's not much about space. Then it becomes more about how space can make your life better,
Yep.
rather than talking much about the space. So yeah, I agree with that point. And before proceeding ahead, I just wanted to touch up on this part. Like traditionally, I think satellite communication has been very much inclined towards the consumer market, like B2C, especially we see DTH market.
Hmm.
So the thing is, as a child, or when I was in a school, like I didn't know that, okay, this is the space industry. The thing that we have on our terrace directly comes through a satellite. So literally, like that is a space resource, very frankly speaking. But I didn't know about that. So how do you think in general the current pace of these things have changed in the satellite communication industry? If you have a brief outlook, you can let us know about that as well.
Sure. Well, as many of us active in space market analysis know that satellite communication is one of the biggest financial drivers of space. It is the area where the money is made in space, and it has been for quite a while with companies, for example, like SES, starting to experiment with commercial applications of satellite communication
Yes.
fairly early on. And and I think SES is a good example in the sense that the people who use SES services, who use satellite television, satellite communication, probably the link that we have right now has some element of space in it somehow, but it is completely space agnostic. And that is the story about how well, there's two sides to this. First of all, how irrelevant it is for consumers to realize that there's space involved. It doesn't really matter, and the consumer is not so much interested in the fact that space is involved as long as it works. I mean, it used to be a
Yes.
miracle in the 1940s and 1950s that you could connect via telephone to the other side of the world. And
Yes.
nowadays we completely take that for granted.
Yes.
Um, and that's okay because it talks about the
Yeah.
benefit more than the technology behind it. On the other hand, it is a loss. So people do not realize anymore that space is involved. And you know, the Jean-Jacques Dordain, the former Director General of ESA, always had
Yeah.
this example in his speeches where he talked about the taxi driver who said, "Who needs space when we have this massive this great satellite navigation application in our phone? I don't need space to find my way through the system." Completely
Yeah.
not realizing that he was using space infrastructure,
Yes.
and that is a loss. That no, it doesn't matter that space is involved for the end product, for the benefit that people have, but it also disconnects people from the fact, from the relevance, if you like, of the space industry. So space is not always good in telling people the right story, and people don't appreciate the value of space in that sense. People
Yes.
see astronauts flying to space, you know, all the cool stories. They see the Apollo program, they see people going up, well, they saw people going up in space shuttles, they see them on board of the International Space Station, they see billionaires going up. The narrative as far as space outreach and the awareness of the population about space sometimes is not the real story of what space really is. I mean, if I tell people that three-quarters of money is made in space is made in satellite communication,
Yeah.
they don't they're flabbergasted. They think, okay, the
Yes.
ISS, what is it, $100 billion laboratory flying there. They only see massive waste of money, but they don't see the value that space is
Yes.
giving to society in real life to everyone on Earth every day.
Yes, I completely agree with you about this point. And I think on not on a massive scale, but somewhere little by little, due to the drop down of the operational cost, I would say, or the components, the new space has taken up, and I see a lot of people from the non-space areas coming in and taking initiatives into the space industry right now. So, with respect to that, aligning with the same question and the follow up, like considering the rise in new space companies, do you think the startups should have a significant budget allocation for marketing activities?
Yes, I mean the simple answer is yes, and that's not just because I'm a marketeer and I make my money on marketing, but it is often something, especially in technology startups. Again, not necessarily just in space, but in technology and in high tech in general, where it's engineered ideas, engineers who develop products and services.
Yes.
It's not in their system, and that is supported by the fact that marketing traditionally in space is not an important element. But now that we're talking about new space, about commercial space should really emphasize the word commercial. This is a commercial endeavor that is
Yes.
comparable to other commercial endeavors. Compare it to other successful commercial B2C companies, if you like, they have massive marketing budget. That's why Coca-Cola is so big. That's why car manufacturers are so
Yes.
big. Is they have marketing budgets to tell the world about the benefits that they will receive from using all these products. And in space, we're traditionally not so used to this. And I would argue for any space startup or for any space SME that an investment in your marketing budget, which always seems to lag at the end of the budget cycle, if there's a little bit of money left, then okay, maybe we'll do some advertising or maybe we'll do a little bit of marketing. That is the wrong way. And I argue that investing in marketing will actually help you accelerate growth, accelerate your
Yes.
scalability, will accelerate your sales and accelerate the growth of your company.
Definitely. I think this is a very important thing because as coming from a media background itself, even I experience this thing a lot of times, and I always tell all the startup community that yes, you need to. I mean, it's fine to post once in a while by yourself on your company page, but I think you need to hire an expert in communications or at least consult an expert, because the way you use the language, as you previously said, and the narrative matters a lot when you tell the story about your company and your product and
Yeah,
services.
no, absolutely. And you hit an important point there, and I'm,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that is critically important. You have to realize, especially as a startup, as an SME, that marketing is a specialist profession. It is not something that you, as a CEO, well, maybe in the early days you can, but as a CEO, you have to realize that marketing is a specialization. And if you want a full-blown marketing campaign to be successful, you need to hire marketing specialists. This is not something you can do in the weekend beside your CEO
Yes.
job. No, you have to have the right people who understand how marketing works, who understand how consumers or how clients find out about you, and how all these channels, all these different channels that we have nowadays, how that works, how you can use these channels to really engage with your customers and fill your sales pipeline.
Yes, definitely. And we are almost reaching at the end of conversation, but just want to touch up on this part. Like, I see, like, I completely agree with your point, and I myself as well tell this to the startups that you need to invest, especially in the marketing, even if it's a small budget, you have to. But sometimes it happens that there is a financial crunch. So do you think like the government agencies, like especially I see in Europe, I mean, in all my career I have seen Europe is the only one who has been especially uplifting the earth observation part. So do you think like the government agencies can play a much more bigger role in helping the startups invest more in their marketing resources through
Yes,
funding?
yeah, they can, and maybe not so much through funding because a lot of funding is available. I mean, if you look at the Cassini program from the European Commission or Horizon Europe, all the opportunities that exist for finding solutions, the role of these government agencies and of these programs, and maybe even going to hackathons and business incubation programs like the ESA Big community out there, they
Yes.
should highlight the fact that okay, you have a certain budget to bring this product to market or bring this service to market or do this project, that you should allocate a realistic budget to market your product and not spend 100% on product development and service development, but make sure that you allocate a realistic amount, whatever that is for your particular market, a realistic amount for marketing, and make sure you hire or you obtain the right marketing resources or skills. And yes, I think there is a role not so much in funding, but in educating these startup entrepreneurs and these
Yes.
high tech SMEs on the relevance of marketing using examples where people spend a little bit on marketing and show them the results that marketing can bring, and obviously marketeers like myself and like you, Omkar, can help these organizations find the right balance in between marketing
Yes.
and other activities such that it maximizes the benefits to your organization.
Yes, definitely. I think like the point that you mentioned, educating the startups, I think yes, it's very important. Rather than funding, I would say, when you educate someone, it remains with them. Like, it's like fitted or programmed in their brain, and then they start thinking about why is it important. So yeah, it's a very important point. I think we can do a later on one session on this topic, because educating, the startup entrepreneurs is a complete new different thing.
Hmm.
Definitely, like, if you have any time in the future, definitely I'd be really happy to have another second episode of this on this conversation as well, a follow-up, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to. Just to give a 20-second example of that is the business model canvas. All
Yeah.
startup entrepreneurs know about the business model canvas, these 9 squares that you have to fill in. Well, let me tell you that most of those 9 squares relate to marketing. Do not
Yes.
relate to product, but they relate to how do you define your value proposition? How do you define your customers? How do you define your partners? That is what
Yes.
marketing is really about.
Yes, definitely. And as we are at the end part now, so as a media and communication expert, what message would you like to give to the space companies, and in general, as you mentioned about the educating the space entrepreneurs as well? So in general, what message would you like to give to them from
Yeah,
this
I think I'm
talk?
going to repeat myself, but that's the power of marketing is in the repetition. Is think marketing. Please, in the beginning of your company, make sure that marketing becomes an integrated part of of your business model, of your business plan. Think about marketing at the same time you think about developing your products and services. Marketing is important to bridge that gap between you and your launch customer and your subsequent customers, and make sure that you understand who these people are. And again, marketing tools are there to help you cross that bridge. The language that we talked about, the narrative, start developing all that at the same time you develop your product, because we often say that many of these space startups, they develop solutions for problems that may not exist, and marketing will help you identify these real world problems that real world customers are dealing with. So please make marketing a priority right from the start.
Thank you very much, Remco. It has been an amazing conversation with you, and I hope we keep a follow-up of this episode, because there are a lot of questions that have popped up, I guess, in the conversation. So would be really happy to do one more follow-up episode in the next 1 month or 2 months, whenever you will be available.
Absolutely, I'll be more
Thank you
than
very
happy
much for
to.
your precious time.
Thank you very much for
Yes.
for the opportunity.
Yes.